Alright, what's going on, everybody? Back again today to do another. It's nerdy, but it's a topic that I have a very interesting relationship with this particular facet of nerddom. And it's due to recent events, and as you saw from the title, we're talking about Star Wars The High Republic. Um, fix this real quick. Shouldn't do that anymore. So, with Star Wars and its recent past, I've been like pretty much done with it. Like I'm not doing it anymore. Like fuck Star Wars. But with Mandalorian season 2 and that excellent scene we got in the finale with Luke, I'm not totally done with it. But for me at least, Star Wars is on the thinnest ice it could possibly be. Like they do one thing wrong in my opinion. I get it, everyone's got their own opinion and their own take on it. But for me, they do one thing wrong. And by thing, I mean they put out a book or a comic or a game and they do it poorly. It goes right back to I'm done with Star Wars. I'm done with it. I'm not touching it. Fuck it. So we're talking about the High Republic today, which is it's their new literary initiative. It's there's no movies or animated series for the High Republic yet. It's all comics, books, and that's about it. Uh, so just a full disclosure and also a little bit of an apology to my buddy who you've seen on other videos, Zach. We actually recorded our video together. He's a huge Star Wars fan, and we recorded a video on this once already. We did it almost a week ago. But in that video, first of all, it was too long. This is way too small of a thing. We're talking about. I've got a few of the comics. I bought like issues 1 through 5 of the High Republic comics, and I've got the first book that you're supposed to start with. So we ended up going way off topic, not just with Star Wars, but with everything in general. And it is my fault. There were things in the video that we recorded that I brought up, which led the conversation in a direction it did not need to go because it has nothing to do with Star Wars: The High Republic. We ended up rehashing just a ton of stuff about like what Disney's done wrong in the past with Star Wars, and I've been questioning all week since we made the video whether or not I was going to put it up, and I decided no, I'm not going to. At one point in the video, we just went on like a 20-minute tangent. We weren't even talking about Star Wars anymore. We were talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier again, and it was just it didn't work. I thought about texting him and seeing if he wanted to be part of this redo, but it just felt to me like if I had him back and we tried to just do the video the same way we did it the first time, it would have almost felt like we're like actors reading a script and just saying lines that we've already said. So I just said screw it. I'm just gonna redo the video myself, keep it as short and sweet as I possibly can, and just focus on what needs to be focused on. So apologies to Zach. Sorry that I'm not using the video we made, but it was way too long, and I'm just as guilty of this as you are. This is not me blaming you in any way, but we really got to do better of staying on topic and not just going off on tangent, or at least hitting the pause button when we want to pause the recording. Because yeah, there's like a good 20 minutes of our High Republic video that's not about the High Republic at all. And yeah, so, but anyway, Star Wars: The High Republic. This is an era of Star Wars in the Star Wars mythology and the lore that has never been touched on before. We've seen the Old Republic with the Knights of the Old Republic games, the Old Republic MMORPG, and then there's some tie-in novels and comic book series to both of those. So we've seen the Old Republic. We've never seen the High Republic. This is 200 years prior to Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and it's where the Republic is just kicking ass. It's awesome. Everything's working the way it's supposed to. The Jedi are at the height and the peak of their power and their, just the spread of their influence throughout the galaxy. People still are they hold Jedi in very high regard. Like, you see a Jedi show up to help solve a problem, and this is the era where like a Jedi's here. Oh my God, we're saved. Like, nothing religious, but you know what I mean. Like, and you're meant to start the High Republic with this book, called Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Uh, just going to give a brief premise of this book. I wish I say brief, but I'm going to talk about quite a bit of stuff. But nothing I say here is going to be a huge spoiler. If you watched the initial announcement video reveal trailer that they put out for the High Republic many months ago, then you already have then nothing's going to be spoiled here, essentially. So this book starts out, there is a huge freighter starship traveling through hyperspace, and it's the very first chapter of the book. It's from the point of view of the captain of that ship, and she's hauling people, like lots of people. At least I think it was lots of people, to new homes. They're moving to the outer rim, kind of going to colonize some new areas. They were in an era where the Empire, or not the Empire, the Republic, the High Republic, is looking to expand beyond the outer rim, and they've just completed a new space station, star base out there on the outer rim called Starlight Beacon. It's like the Deep Space Nine of Star Wars now, if anyone's familiar with Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And this is going to be like the forward-most outpost for the expansion of the Republic into like beyond the outer rim. And so this captain of this starship, she's hauling people out there to the outer rim and beyond. And all of a sudden they get an alert that in the same hyperspace lane that they are traveling, an unknown object is approaching them. It's like on a direct collision course with them. They don't know what it is. So at the last minute, she tries to pull some crazy maneuver, because she was a military pilot before she did this, and she tries to pull some kind of crazy maneuver. She successfully maneuvers her ship out of the way of this oncoming object, but the ship that she's flying was not meant for maneuvers like this. So in doing so, it tears the ship apart. And she manages to seal off a bunch of compartments in the ship so that, like, people within those compartments, they won't just immediately get sucked out into the vacuum of space. But the maneuver tears the ship apart, and the chunks and pieces and shrapnel of this ship, of this wrecked, torn apart ship, they come hurtling out of hyperspace. Even though they're no longer in hyperspace, they're still going damn near light speed. And they are on a collision course now with this other inhabited system called, I believe it's the Hetzel system. And there are 1 or 2, maybe 3 inhabited worlds in this system. And there are space stations in orbit around the planets of this system on the outer edge of it. And these pieces are just coming in hot. And it looks like it's going to absolutely destroy this system and kill a ton of people. The system gets word of it. The capital planet of the system gets word of it. The governor gives the direct order for evacuating the system. He puts out a call for help, and another big ass ship, Republic cruiser type ship, carrying both Republic peacekeeping, military, whatever forces. This is an era where they don't really have a military, but they still have something. And it also has a ton of Jedi on it, because this is from that Starlight Beacon station. They happen to be in the area. They got the distress call. So now this huge Republic cruiser ship with all of its little smaller ships and fighter vessels inside of it, and a ton of Jedi, they are now on the scene, and they're providing disaster relief, helping to evacuate people. At a certain point, a Jedi and his Padawan go down to the planet because there's like people are panicking and there's chaos erupting, and they go down there and they have to kind of like instill order. And some people, get violent and start trying to steal ships. So you actually get to see some action. They're using their lightsabers, because people just get violent and start going crazy. So the first half of this book is pretty much played out like a disaster novel or a disaster story, and it's interesting simply because it's not the typical Star Wars plot of good guy versus bad guy, good faction versus bad faction. This is like disaster relief. Like no one is evil here. No one's behind. No one. The thing that they are up against is not some kind of evil entity. It's a disaster. So showing it, I understand why they went that route. They're trying to show the Jedi and how Jedi were never supposed to be. Their primary function was not warriors and enforcers. Like, yes, they are great warriors, they are highly skilled fighters, but that's for the purpose of maintaining the peace and restoring the peace. And then they all, of course, their whole thing about like violence is a last resort. If there's no other option, then yeah, fight. So they did that for that reason, because this is supposed to be the High Republic. Things are at their height. There is no one to fight. There is no enemy. Well, that's not entirely true, because it's called Star Wars. So if you don't put some wars in there, what are we really reading here? What are we watching? What are we playing? It's Star Wars. So once you get past the first portion of this book, the disaster portion, they start to do an investigation as to what happened to this ship in hyperspace. Why did it get torn apart? Why did this happen? Well, they come to the conclusion that their investigation leads them to this faction called the Nihil, or the Nihil, Nihil. I believe they pronounce it Nile, but whatever. And the Nihil are basically space pirates / Viking type people. One of their mottos or phrases that they commonly use is like, "You cannot take it with you, but we can take it from you." And the vibe I got from the Nile in this overall story was, if anyone's watched Black Sails, and you remember Captain Flint talking about to Billy about how, like, we need to steal this gold so that we can buy better guns and better weapons and fortify ourselves, because civilization's coming. We're pirates, and we have our little pirate town here in the Bahamas, and I believe it was Nassau, and this is how we like to live, where there's very little law, there's very little order. It's you just do you, and if you can't take care of yourself, you get stepped on. And yeah, that's their way of life. And he says, like, we need to steal all this gold so we can buy better guns and better weapons and fortify ourselves, because civilization is coming. The other governments of the world, the boundary lines are starting to be drawn, flags are starting to be raised, and civilization is encroaching. And pretty soon they're going to start trying to put an end to our way of life, which is piracy and just doing whatever you want and being beholden to no one. And that's how the Nihil in this story have kind of operated. They were separate tribes, but now they've all been united under the banner of this one leader who's called the Eye of the Nihil. They have a very like storm, lightning, thunder kind of rank structure, like a small unit of them, and their commander is called a cloud, and then a bigger unit is called a storm, and the leader of it all is called the Eye of the Nihil, or the Eye of the Storm. And yeah, so they are behind how do I put this? They're in the investigation into the disaster at the beginning of the book leads to the discovery of the Nihil. And they are the reason they've united under this one ruler, under one banner, and are kind of pushing back against the Republic, is exactly what I described in Black Sails. They are space Viking-ish, pirate-ish people. It's not one species either. There's a bunch of them. It's kind of like Mandalorian. It's more of like a creed, not really a race or a species. And they believe in, if I like that guy's ship and I can take it from him and he can't stop me, then it's mine. Like, that's the kind of life that they like to live. That's what they believe in. And the Republic, with their new initiative to push their influence beyond the Outer Rim, and they've set up the Starlight Beacon, the Nihil are perceiving that as a threat to their way of life, so that they're responding in kind. And now we've got the wars back in Star Wars. This book does feature a battle at the end of it. How do I put this? The Nihil are an interesting idea for an enemy. However, something that I think Disney is not going to respect when it comes to the law of Star Wars is, if you do not have the Force and you are combating someone who does have the Force, you're fucked. and they've been trained to use the Force. They've studied it for a very long time. They've lived within it. They've used it to hone their reflexes. You're fucked. I mean, it's just the way it is. You could have a lightsaber and no Force ability, but you're fighting someone who has just a normal sword and they have Force ability. You're still fucked. It does not matter. The Force is that OP. Like any kind of magical power where I can I can shove you 10 or more feet away from me into the dirt with my mind. Like what? Even if you have a lightsaber, what's that gonna do? You come charging at me with the lightsaber. Nope, nope, get back. Nope, go away. And then you get to the dark side powers of it, and it's like choking, raising, slamming into the ground, lightning. There's just no contest. So with this Nile people, I see it being a lot of like they're gonna fight with a very guerrilla warfare style fight, like hit and run tactics. It's gonna be a lot of space battles because that's on a bit more of an even playing field. You have a Jedi and a starfighter and a Nihil and another starfighter. Yeah, the Jedi is probably a better pilot because the Force helps their reflexes and flying skills and whatnot. But it's still blasters on a starfighter versus blasters on a starfighter. And if the Nile is also a very experienced and well-trained fighter pilot, then they will probably put up a pretty good fight. It's also, when you get into the comics, which is the extra stuff that I've read after the book, they are a big fan of using like poison gases. So like the guerrilla warfare tactics type stuff, they'll lure you into a trap and then hit you with poison gas that'll disorient you or immobilize you, and then they come in with their gas masks on, and I've seen them. They've got blasters, they've got melee weapons like machetes, swords, axes, stuff, but I have not seen or heard of the Nihil using vibro weapons. So right there, that's another disadvantage. If they come even with the gas, if they gas a Jedi, there's still a pretty good chance the Jedi is just gonna calm themselves with the Force, use the Force to overcome the effects of the gas. And then the Jedi's going to pull out their lightsaber, and you're the Nihil dude, and you're going to come running at the Jedi with your axe or machete or whatever, and he's just going to he's going to just slice right through your machete or axe, or slice right through you. And you do see that happen in this comic book series. This guy right here, this Jedi, a Nihil dude tries to get the drop on him, literally drop down on him from above in the ceiling, and he just senses him. He senses him through the Force, and as the dude drops down, he just cuts him right in half. So I think the philosophy of the Nile is cool. However, with them being the new enemy faction, and they're supposed to be a threat, they don't have the Force, they don't have lightsabers, and you didn't, as far as I know, they don't even have vibro weapons. Like the baton that the Stormtrooper had when he fought Finn, or anyone who's played Knights of the Old Republic, about vibro weapons, vibro blades, vibro swords. They can resist lightsaber blades. Nothing even mentioned about that. So they're a cool idea on paper, but and that's one of my things. We'll see if Disney respects this piece of Star Wars lore. They might. I have a feeling with the way Disney's treated Star Wars in the past, they go, just because you have the Force, why does that mean they win automatically? What if we don't want them to win automatically just because they have the Force? The Force maybe it's not that powerful. Well, no, it is, because we've got over 30 years of Star Wars lore and stories telling us it is that powerful. So maybe don't shit on all of that. Maybe that's just my idea. So, but we'll see. So yeah, that's the High Republic. Something that the comic book series is pretty good. It follows these two characters, the Padawan and the Master. She's really the main character, and as a matter of fact, in issue 1, she becomes a Jedi Knight. They knight her, so she's no longer his Padawan. The comic book series is fine so far. With this book, there's already advertisements in here for a sequel. I don't know how well you can see. They're telling don't miss out on the next book. So I think I will get the next book. just because this one, it was a setup. It was a setup story. It was, they had to establish the time period, the era, and what what the galaxy and the Galactic Republic is like during this time period. The only other gripe I had was, this is going to be a bit of a long explanation, but bear with me. Star Wars has always centered around characters. And it's usually been in groups of 3, like um, the original trilogy, you got Han, Luke, and Leia. Prequel trilogy, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme, I guess you would say. In the Clone Wars animated series, it's Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, for the most part. It's groups of 3. Because when you start trying to do some Game of Thrones type shit, where you just have like a bajillion different characters and we're expected to keep track of them all, especially in a print medium where there's no like visual reference for you to put a face to the name, don't do that. Just don't do that. Like just pick some solid characters. I get it in this day and age, for with diversity and equality being a great thing. Disney likes to try and use Star Wars to just show like this huge, diverse variety of characters, and that's great. But what you got to understand is when there's like, that's great, that's all well and good, but what you got to understand is when it comes to a story, no matter what, individual people are going to latch onto certain characters as their favorites. And if you don't give people enough of their favorite to keep them coming back, that's when their interest is going to start to kind of wane. Anyone who read the Game of Thrones books, I came in on the Game of Thrones books after watching seasons 1 and 2 of the show. Seasons 1 and 2 of the show, they followed the books pretty well. I came in after that. Anyone who's read the books can tell you that for someone like that, they started reading the books because they liked the show. The 4th book is the hardest to read. It is a bit of a chore because most people, not everyone's, most people's favorite characters from the show were Jon Snow, Tyrion Lannister, Daenerys Targaryen. And those 3 characters, I believe, are not in the 4th book really at all. The 4th and 5th book, the events of the 4th and 5th book take place at the exact same time, and he just split the books up by characters. And the 3 favorite characters from people who got into it through the show, or maybe even people who got into it through the books, they weren't even in the 4th book, and it made the 4th book quite a chore to read. There are a ton of new characters introduced in this, and I can already tell you which. I could tell you, I'm not going to specifically say, but I have some that I'm leaning towards as favorites, but it is kind of a pain in the ass because each chapter is about a different character. It jumps around a lot. So it is kind of a pain in the ass when you start to form that opinion of like, okay, who my favorite is. You read a chapter about them, the chapter ends, and now you got to go through 5 or 6 chapters before you get back to them. And it's about characters that you don't really like. That can really bite you in the ass. Just having a lot of characters for the sake of having a lot of characters is not always a good thing. I think it's better to just have a limited amount of characters and just give them good stories and a good arc to their character, and then people usually like that. That's usually how good storytelling works. So, like I said, though, it is the first book. It is the introduction into the High Republic. So who knows? Maybe they will kind of start to pick up on it, like, oh, people really like this character, or people really like this character, or people hated that character. And then maybe as time goes on and we get more books and comics and stuff in this new era of the High Republic, they will kind of focus on the favorites. Excuse me. But yeah, I would almost advise, not that they listen to me, but I would almost advise them to narrow it back down to 3. Do the 3 main characters. Like, look at this, even the sequel trilogy. We had Finn, Poe Dameron, and Rey, and then arguably Kylo Ren. So one more, but yeah, narrow it down to like 3 characters and go from there. Don't do this bajillion character story, because I think you're just setting yourself up for failure. Yeah. But anyway, overall, did not hate it. do like it. I am going to read the next book when it comes out. But we're going to see how it goes. I hope they amp up the Nile. If they're going to be the big bad of this era of Star Wars, they need to be the big bad. They need to be a threat. And right now, like, I just kind of look at them as something to do. It's like, oh, it's something to fight, you know? They don't seem threatening, and I don't quite understand how they are a threat to the Jedi. I know, I just, like I said, like, oh, you're charging me with a machete? Boop. Nope. Get back. Nope. 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 Not today. You know. And if they get a little too aggressive, then it's just like fucking. You don't have vibro weapons. What are you gonna do? Blast me with your blaster? Okay, block, 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 block. Cut you in half. Like they're not that threatening. So you gotta amp them up a little bit. I'm not saying give them. This is something that I don't know if Disney understands. You can give a faction the Force. Excuse me. Without having them be Jedi or Sith. You know, the Force is not exclusive to one of those two belief systems. So there could be people among the Nile who have the Force. Does not mean they were raised and educated on the Sith philosophy. Does not mean they were raised and educated on the Jedi philosophy. It could just mean that they have the Force and they honed their own abilities over time through just life and experience. And then if you couple that with some vibro blades, vibro weapons, now there's a bit of a threat there. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But that overall is my take on Star Wars The High Republic. Let me know what you guys think. Has anyone else read this book or read any of this material? Are you liking it? Are you not liking it? Do you agree with my points? Do you not? I'd love to hear counter arguments and disagreements. I'm always open to having my mind changed about stuff. So maybe if I just haven't thought about something in a specific way, you can point it out to me and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that actually. So please leave some comments below. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this. If you have any questions about it that I didn't address in this video, please leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer those questions. Please do not forget to check us out on Twitch. If you liked this video, please give it a like. Check out some of the others in the channel. Subscribe maybe, and I will see you guys next time.